Most people stay broke, not because they lack the opportunity or the intelligence or even the drive. They stay broke because they've been hypnotized. Hypnotized by the rhythm of the ordinary, convinced by the voices around them, parents, peers, teachers, media, that mediocrity is a virtue, that playing small is safe. But let me tell you the truth that shakes the ground beneath that lie. Broke is not just a financial condition. Broke is a state of mind, a spiritual paralysis, a soul that's forgotten its own fire. You were born with riches inside you that no currency could measure, but somewhere along the way, you traded that inner wealth for comfort, for conformity, for crumbs of approval. Most people stay broke because they've sold their dreams for wages. And the world, it pays just enough to keep you showing up, but never enough to set you free. Do you know what broke really is? It's waking up without a sense of purpose. It's dreading the morning because you know the day ahead will be a repeat of the last. It's walking through life like a ghost in your own story. It's telling yourself, one day, until the mirror says, it's too late. But it's not too late. Not yet. You see, the difference between the wealthy and the broke isn't just money. It's mentality. The broke mind waits for permission. The wealthy mind takes initiative. The broke mind complains about the system. The wealthy mind learns how to beat it. And here's the paradox. The rich aren't always smarter. They're just more daring. They've trained themselves to think in terms of abundance when the world screams scarcity. Because it is a training. You were not born average. You were born unbroken, undefeated, unlimited. But you've been trained, yes, trained, to doubt your own power. And that's where the transformation begins. Retraining the mind. The first poverty is in mindset, because broke thinking is seductive. It feels safe, familiar. You get to blame circumstances. You get to hide from risk. You get to say, it's not my fault. But that's not safety. That's a slow death. You want to know why most people stay broke? Because they confuse activity with progress. They scroll, swipe, consume, compare, and call it living. They trade attention for distraction, clarity for noise. They look rich on the outside and feel bankrupt on the inside. They are busy but not aligned, always moving, never arriving. Look back through history. The inventors, the empire builders, the disruptors, they didn't have better tools. They had better vision. Clarity so intense it burned through fear. While others waited for the economy, for the government, for a sign from the sky, they built. They moved with deliberate intention. But you cannot have clarity until you stop running from silence, because silence reveals the truth, and truth is where wealth begins. Ask yourself, who am I really? What would I build if I feared no judgment? What would I pursue if I wasn't shackled by doubt? The answers are not on social media. They're not in your paycheck. They're in the mirror. They've always been there. You want to change your life? Change the questions you ask yourself. Stop asking, what if it doesn't work? Start asking, what if it does? What if that book you haven't written could change a life? What if that idea you shelved could feed your family for generations? What if the version of you you've buried under fear is the one the world's been waiting for? Clarity without belief is a sword without a hand to wield it, because belief is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. And most people stay broke because they believe more in their limitations than in their potential. They've heard "you can't" so many times, they made it their anthem. But listen to me. Belief is not something you wait for. Belief is something you decide. It's not given, it's built. Brick by brick, through discipline, through sacrifice, through showing up when no one claps. And here's the harsh truth. Most people stay broke because they don't believe they deserve to be wealthy. They think money is evil. They think success is arrogance. They think ambition is pride. So they self-sabotage. They shrink. They dim their light so others feel comfortable in the dark. But let me say this loud and clear. There is nothing noble about playing small. There is no virtue in struggle when freedom is within reach. And there is no excuse in this age of access to die with your gift still inside you. The moment you believe in your worth, the world begins to shift. But belief must become behavior. Because wishing is for the weak. Discipline is for the destined. That's where the separation begins. Not in talent, not in connections, but in daily decisions. Waking up when it's uncomfortable. turning off distractions when others indulge, doing the hard things, especially when no one's watching. Discipline is the invisible currency that wealth respects. You want to be free? Then you must earn your freedom through focused repetition. You must build habits so powerful they override your excuses. Because broke people make decisions based on feelings. The wealthy make decisions based on commitment. And when discipline meets purpose, something dangerous happens. You become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You stop chasing and you start creating. You stop reacting and you start designing. You stop hoping and you start commanding. Because wealth, real wealth, isn't money. It's the power to choose your life. When you reclaim your power of choice, you realize you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the architect of your destiny. And most people stay broke because they never build that blueprint. They drift from job to job, from idea to idea. They chase trends. They follow crowds. But wealth doesn't come to the drifter. It comes to the visionary. You must have a vision that sets your soul on fire. Not just a goal, but a mission. A reason so compelling that you'd walk through storms to see it realized. Because the world bends for those with relentless vision. It may not happen overnight, but it happens over time. When clarity fuels purpose and purpose fuels persistence. The masses stay broke because their vision is borrowed. They've outsourced their definition of success. They're climbing ladders leaning against the wrong walls. They think they want a mansion, a car, a title. But what they really crave is freedom, impact, peace. And those don't come from consumption. They come from creation. Ask yourself, if your life was a message to the world, what would it say? What would it prove? Would it scream of compromise? Or would it echo with conviction? Purpose is not found. It's forged. Forged in the fire of self-reflection, brutal honesty, and radical ownership. Most people avoid that fire. They numb it with entertainment. They bury it under busyness. But the few, the rare few, they step into it, and they emerge transformed. Because when you find your why, the how becomes irrelevant. You'll figure it out. You'll learn the skills. You'll attract the right people. You'll endure the setbacks. Because purpose gives pain a point. It gives suffering a shape. It turns struggle into sacrifice, and sacrifice into significance. But purpose without action is just potential. And potential not used becomes poison. The broke mindset thinks in tomorrows. Tomorrow I'll start. Tomorrow I'll invest. Tomorrow I'll launch, apply, commit. But wealth lives in nows. It's built by those who understand that waiting is a form of self-betrayal. Action isn't just physical movement. It's a declaration of belief. Every time you act toward your vision, you send a signal to your subconscious. I am serious. I am worthy. I am ready. And the universe responds to readiness with opportunity. But not all action is equal. Mindless hustle is just motion without meaning. Strategic action, focused, intentional, aligned. That's the difference. And to act with strategy, you need one thing most people lack: self-awareness. Most stay broke because they don't study themselves. They study celebrities, they study strangers, but not their own patterns, their own triggers, their own hidden beliefs. You can't master what you don't understand. And if you don't understand yourself, you'll never break free from yourself. You'll self-sabotage every breakthrough. You'll spend more than you earn. You'll waste years on the wrong relationships, the wrong businesses, the wrong pursuits. Because the compass inside you is broken. Fix the compass. Sit in silence long enough to hear your inner voice. It's been whispering all along. Underneath the noise, the fear, the guilt. It's saying, you were made for more. And once you hear it, once you finally believe it, your standards change. You stop tolerating environments that shrink you. You stop spending time with people who drain you. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. Because wealth isn't attracted to the needy. It's attracted to the certain. The ones who know who they are. The ones who walk into a room and don't need to speak to be heard. Because their energy speaks. Their alignment speaks. Their life speaks. But let's not romanticize this path. This isn't about hype. It's about hard choices. Saying no when it's unpopular. Cutting off comfort when it cries for attention. Delaying pleasure in a world addicted to it. It's about gratitude in the grind. Because most people chase results, but the wise learn to love the process. They celebrate the early mornings, the silent nights, the unseen effort, because they know that's where character is built, and character is the foundation on which empires stand. You can't fake consistency. You can't outsource hunger. You either want this or you don't, and if you don't, admit it. But if you do, then move like it, think like it, act like it. Gratitude is the secret fuel, not gratitude for the outcome, but for the opportunity. Gratitude that you can try, that you can grow, that you can fail and rise again. The broke mind complains, why me? The wealthy mind adapts, try me. And that's where the next evolution begins, adaptability. Because success is not a straight line. It's a maze. The map changes, the market shifts, the players rotate. And those who cling to one way of doing things, they crumble. You must become water, fluid, sharp, resilient, able to flow around obstacles, cut through stone, or crash through walls when needed. Because life will not go according to plan. And most people stay broke because they never learned how to pivot. They treat failure as the end instead of the teacher. But wealth flows to those who fail fast and learn faster. And learning, real learning, is humility. It's admitting you don't know. It's seeking mentors instead of mocking them. It's reading when others watch, listening when others talk, investing when others spend. You were not put on this earth to remain a copy of someone else. You were put here to become the highest version of yourself, to be wealthy in mind, in impact, in freedom, in truth. But truth isn't found in comfort. Truth is revealed in the storm. And wealth, real, lasting wealth, is born in the places most people refuse to go. It's born in the uncomfortable silence of early mornings when no one's watching, in the aching solitude of growth when everyone else is still sleeping on their dreams. It's born in the tension between who you are now and who you're meant to become. Most people stay broke not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack the courage to confront that tension. They escape, they distract, they settle for temporary pleasures that leave permanent scars. They choose numbness over awareness, comfort over calling, and in doing so, they trade a lifetime of abundance for a moment of ease. But ease is a sedative. It lulls you to sleep while your potential dies quietly in the background. Understand this. You were not born for ease. You were born for expansion, and expansion requires friction. Do you know why the caterpillar must struggle inside the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly? Because without the resistance, its wings won't grow strong enough to fly. That struggle is not punishment. It's preparation. And life works the same way. Those seasons that break most people, they're forging the flight of those who don't quit. So if you're in the thick of it right now, if you're tired, if you're lost, if you feel like everything is testing you, good, because it means you're not asleep. It means you're in motion. It means life hasn't given up on you, and neither should you. The greats, the real wealth builders, they all walked through their own fire. Edison failed 10,000 times before the light bulb. Oprah was told she was unfit for TV. Jobs was fired from his own company. But they didn't retreat. They rebuilt. Stronger, sharper, clearer. Why? Because they weren't afraid to start over. They knew the game wasn't over unless they decided it was. And that's the difference. The broke give up when it gets hard. The wealthy get curious. They ask, what is this trying to teach me? They reframe pain as feedback. They treat losses as tuition. They use adversity as their greatest asset. But none of that is possible if your identity is still tied to outcomes. The truth is, the wealthy mindset doesn't chase results. It chases alignment. It asks, am I becoming the kind of person who naturally creates wealth? Because if you become that, the results are inevitable. You want wealth? Then become someone worthy of wealth. Become someone who respects time, who finishes what they start, who doesn't need applause to stay consistent, who sharpens their mind the way a warrior sharpens their blade. Because wealth isn't given, it's earned. And not just in the bank, but in your being. Wealth is a mirror. It reflects who you are, not just what you do. If your inner world is cluttered with doubt, fear, and laziness, your outer world will always mirror it back in the form of scarcity, setbacks, and struggle. So clean it up. Clean your mind. Clean your daily habits. Clean your associations. You can't fly with anchors tied to your ankles. And sometimes those anchors look like friends. People you've known for years who don't want you to grow, not because they hate you, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. They'll mock your discipline, laugh at your ambition, but secretly, they're afraid you'll prove them wrong. Let them stay comfortable. Let them stay asleep. You weren't born to be liked. You were born to lead, and leaders walk alone before they walk in front. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for applause. Stop waiting for someone to come save you. No one is coming. You are the rescue plan, and you don't need a miracle. You need a decision. A decision that today is the day you stop rehearsing mediocrity. That today is the day you stop playing broke in a world that's begging for your brilliance. That today is the day you stop watching and start becoming. Because the world doesn't owe you understanding, it owes you nothing. But you owe yourself everything. Your future, your power, your truth. And that truth? It's waiting. Waiting for you to rise from the ashes of doubt. Waiting for you to claim your place among the uncommon. Waiting for you to stop surviving and start soaring. So now we arrive at the moment, the one most people run from, the one most never face, because this is where everything shifts, not in some distant future, not when the timing is better, not when your bank account is full. Now, right now, this moment is the fork in the road. To your left, the familiar path, safe, predictable, crowded, paved with good intentions and quiet regret. That road has many companions, but few destinations. It will keep you broke, in wallet, in mind, in soul. But to your right, that path is narrow, unforgiving, lined with failure, doubt, solitude, and sleepless nights. But it is also the only road that leads to sovereignty, to wealth not just in money, but in spirit, to freedom that cannot be taken, because it wasn't given, it was earned. And the question is not, can you walk it? The question is, will you? Will you silence the noise of the masses to hear the whisper of your purpose? Will you trade cheap entertainment for deep education? Will you let go of who you were to make room for who you could be? Because you don't just stumble into greatness, you craft it. You forge it in fire. You build it with discipline, sacrifice, and a vision so real it keeps you awake at night. You earn it one unglamorous, unseen, uncompromising day at a time. Most people stay broke because they live like spectators in the arena of their own life, watching, wishing, waiting, but not you. You didn't come this far to stay in the stands. You came to step into the center, to bleed, to fight, to fail forward and rise higher, because that's what it takes to live fully awake, to live wealthy, in courage, in clarity, in creation. You were never meant for smallness. You were not designed for average. You carry the same fire that lit the minds of Da Vinci, Mandela, Einstein, Nightingale. You are the descendant of survivors, warriors, builders, dreamers. Don't you dare let that legacy end with you. If you have breath in your lungs, you have purpose in your chest. If you have time in your hands, you have wealth waiting to be shaped. And if you have pain in your past, you have power in your story. The clock will not wait. The world will not slow down. But your moment is here, not tomorrow. Now stand up, decide, act, building, become. Because one day, when the silence falls and the noise fades, and you're left with nothing but the reflection staring back at you, you'll want to know that you didn't stay broke. Because you finally realized wealth was never something you chased. It was something you unlocked by becoming the person you were born to be. And that changes everything.